Well, good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to Fat Cat Collections. Today I'll be doing just a quick show and tell video review of a new purchase that I made here. And this is a Vizio 70-inch TV. I believe it's their E-Series, which I've done another review on that. This review is not about the TV today, although we are going to go ahead and turn it on just for the hell of it, since it is sitting right here in the background here. And but mainly the review is going to be about this particular device right here, and it's the Vizio Soundbar. This one's the SB4551 by Vizio. Now, Vizio's been around for quite some time now, and they've started off mainly as primarily a TV company. I've had Vizio products over the years. I had a plasma that has lasted me well over 13 years. I just recently sold it. I was able to actually sell it used for about $180 for a 50-inch. I was pretty lucky to get that for it off Craigslist. So I went ahead and took that money and I bought a new TV for the cabinet here, which over here is a built-in wall cabinet with a 48-inch Insignia I got from Best Buy. It's a smart TV, and it fills the space very nicely. Actually, I was replacing a Sony 42 LCD projection TV, and we started to, me and my girlfriend got together and we started to actually use the living room down here, and wanted something a little bit bigger. I didn't really want a big giant TV in this room originally because I wanted everything to be tucked away inside a built-in wall cabinet. And basically what I have behind this here is a 48-inch, like I said, Insignia TV with a Dolby Digital 5.1 surround system. Now, I'm mentioning that because when I opted to go ahead and get this gigantic 70-inch TV on the adjacent wall, I wasn't really sure how I was going to go ahead and wire in a 5.1 Dolby Digital surround system. This room had some limitations. When I bought the place, I was actually able to gut the entire home, and I'll actually turn this just a little bit so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about here. And the reason I'm showing you this here is because it is relevant to this new purchase and what this review is about, the Vizio Soundbar. Basically, I'm going to open this up here. I have as you can see, the built-in TV here, which is really nice. And now we have two TVs in the room, which is, kind of pointless, but it's already here, so why move it? And this is coming from basically what I had to do, and it'll give you the whole spiel here. I have the Dolby Digital 5.1 surround speakers. These are some acoustic research on-wall speakers. I used to have down here some giant monitor speakers made by Acoustic Research that Crutchfield back in the day rated extremely high. They were $1,800 a pair. And I had the matching center channel, of course the matching subwoofer, and a lot of it was extremely expensive. The Kenwood receiver was not cheap. It's a fantastic receiver in its day, although technology has gotten a lot better with the processing, but still a fantastic sounding system. Now, why am I telling you this? My point in telling you this is that when I put this system in, these speakers, I had the fireplace out, so I was able to pre-wire all this stuff before the fireplace is in. Which brings me to my dilemma when I got this new TV, is how do you get a 5.1 system where you want to put the receiver up in this cabinet and get the wiring over to this wall without doing some severe drywall work and having to run the lines to the walls. And I wasn't really looking forward to doing that. So, point being, let me go ahead and close this up here. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because you're listening to talk to a guy who's been involved in audio and car audio for a very, very long time. I know it sounds good. I know how to make things sound good. And I'm a firm believer that you do not have to spend a lot of money to get really great audio and great sound. Now, I'm not saying I'm an audiophile, but I will tell you that I've had the $1,800 a pair of speakers. I've had the high-end JBL reference speakers. I've had the $1,000 reference amps. And I can tell you, although they all sound very good, I won't say that spending all that money I was much happier than just having a system that's very discreet. And to me, nowadays in my home, it's not a gigantic home. I really don't want a big giant system. Now, hopefully one day, I still have those speakers. Hopefully one day maybe I could have a projection set up maybe in a bonus room somewhere in a much larger home, and maybe that stuff can be utilized because I already have it and because it does sound really good. There is going to be a slight difference when you have a tower speaker with two 5.25-inch drivers, a really solid cabinet, a 10-inch woofer in there. And then, of course, a much better center channel. Of course, there's got to be a difference when you're comparing the sound of a 6.5-inch or 5-inch driver to that of a, for instance, in these drivers here, have a 3.5-inch driver. Or no, I'm sorry, 4-inch driver in those. 3 or 4. Nonetheless, for $150, and again, my point in telling you this is that it's all about the placement of the speakers and how you tune the system to really get sound that you're going to be pretty happy with. I've had in my car the high-end MB Quartz, and I've had the factory system. You amp them right, you tune them right, and you know what, honestly, they all sound pretty darn good. So moving on, so you're talking to a guy who has had the high-end stuff. Now I know there's going to be some audiophiles out there who will tell me that I don't know what high-end is, and that my ear, you've never heard audio like I've heard. There's going to be the folks out there who are going to tell you that those $300 Z-Series monster cable speaker cables or those really high-end speaker cables are going to make a difference and really change the sound. I will disagree with you up and down the block all day long. I don't think that there is any difference that you can actually hear from some of the products that they market out there. What it really comes down to is what you're happy with and what sounds good to you. And so that's why I mention this, because this is not my first system. This is my fourth 5.1 system that I want, my fourth setup I've done. I have a beautiful in-wall system upstairs with a brand new receiver that I just got by Sony. Again, entry-level stuff, and let me tell you, again, for my ear, with my experience, setting the speakers up right, tuning it right, you're going to get far better sound. It's not all about how much money you throw at this stuff. So which brings me to the soundbar. So naturally, you know I've had the 5.1 system. I wanted to do a 5.1 system here, but I ran into a problem with how am I going to get the wires from this wall over to here. Now, it would be a big deal. I'd have to cut out a lot of sheetrock to do that. I don't even know if it's possible without actually punching outside the house to get into this cabinet because you have all the framing around the fireplace. So it's a real dilemma for me. I didn't want to rip up my carpet and go through all that. I already did all that stuff in the beginning. So I opted to maybe look into a soundbar. Now, again, now you get to look at a soundbar. How am I supposed to get rear speakers to the back and have those, be discreet? Folks, if you're like me, I like the system to sound good but be discreet. I really don't, like I said, I don't want the big tower speakers anymore in my living room. I want everything to just kind of blend together and not be too obvious. Now, again, this was a lot more discreet than this here. You're going to see this big gigantic 70-inch TV on the wall. But we use this room so much now, I'm really glad I got it. But I didn't want to clutter it up with having a receiver right here on the table. But I was not happy with the TV sounded. I mean, there's no way that, if you're used to having a nice 5.1 system, or nowadays a Dolby Atmos and all this other stuff, 7.2, I just really like 5.1. I thought about doing an Atmos system upstairs. I just don't really think it's going to, for the amount of work involved, I'm very personally happy with a 5.1 system. And so I wanted to go with a soundbar. And so I opted to try a couple different soundbars. I was all over YouTube looking for the best one. I was on Crutchfield, I was on Best Buy trying to find the best reviews. And the problem with this stuff is that really it's very subjective. And everybody has something different that they're going to think sounds better. To me, my whole problem with soundbars that I've heard in the past is that they just sound like a soundbar. They just don't sound like a 5.1 system. They don't sound like they have some really great speakers. A lot of them don't have really great speakers, and a lot of them don't have separate tweeters. And to me, rationalizing spending $800 to $1,500 for those higher-end soundbars without actually hearing them, because where I live, Best Buy doesn't carry those. They don't stock those. So sure, you can buy and return it, but I didn't want to go through the hassle, and I really wanted to stay under $400. Even $400 was kind of a stretch for me to rationalize a soundbar. I first went with a Nakamichi system that I got my parents. And for them, they're not really used to having the real big 5.1 system. So for their ear, they're just happy with it. For me, coming from two systems that I listen to on a daily basis in my bedroom and downstairs, I needed something a little better than your standard soundbar. And so I went ahead and tried that Nakamichi soundbar for about the $150, $160 price range. Wasn't happy with it. Although it wasn't bad, wasn't working for me. I went ahead and went with another Nakamichi, the NK12, that had and then of course the whole thing with the subwoofer. I needed it wireless. I was like, how's that going to work? Is it going to sound good? Is it going to work properly? So this is all kind of new territory to me. So I went ahead and went with a. It was on sale. I went to Nakamichi again, the NK12 with a wireless sub. Not a bad system at all. If you're looking to spend under $200. definitely a nice sounding system. I went ahead and bought also the Polk Audio Magnify system. That's the one I ultimately settled on because I actually heard that one in the store, and it came with a 7-inch sub. A lot of these other systems came with 5 1/4 inch, 6.5 inch subwoofers. And coming from a guy who's never gone under a 10-inch sub, and sometimes I've been on an 8-inch sub, but I had dual 8s, dual powered subs. I just couldn't wrap my brain around the fact that you're going to have a small sub sound good like that, regardless of the tuning in the box. It's just too small to really get that deep bass out of it, in my opinion. So I went ahead and went with the Polk Audio Magnify system. Had a 7-inch wireless Bluetooth, 7-inch wireless sub. I had 3 different speakers, so you still had a 3.1 on the front. No rear surround, and I got that system, and I have to tell you, it was a night and day improvement over the TV, naturally. So, I mean, it just a good system, but regular price, that was $400, and I caught it on sale for $250 at Best Buy. And you can get them on eBay right now. I'll put links in the description for those where you can get the best deals on those things, okay? The Magnify system was not bad at all, but I just wasn't getting that soundstage I got out of a 5.1. I just wasn't getting the separation. So I went ahead and tried another system. I went up to Best Buy and I bought another system. And the system I bought is the SB4551 by Vizio. Now I was skeptical of getting this system because I was like, well, Vizio's mainly about making TVs. What do they know about audio? Polk Audio has been around forever making audio equipment. You know, in the Polk Audio Magnify system, the bass was the best part of it. And, you know, it did have the ability to change the center channel volume. They had a voice select or something like that, they call it. So that was kind of a nice feature because I always found myself playing with the center channel because some things you watch, you seem to have to like turn up the center channel a lot more than other movies. And these things are all recorded in different formats, especially if you involve yourself in streaming. Things are never 100%, you know. And so that was a nice feature, but the system just sounded extremely boxy. It just sounded like you were listening to a plastic bar, and it just didn't have the separation I wanted. This is a 70-inch TV, although we're not sitting really far from the TV, about 10 feet, 10 to 15 feet. I would have kept it had I not purchased the Vizio SB4551, and I have to tell you, I am blown away with the quality of this system, guys. And I wanted to put this video out there because I went through 5 different soundbars trying to find the one that was under that $400 price point. I really want to say under $200, but it just wasn't going to work for what I wanted. And I'm so glad that I took the risk on going with this Vizio system. Now I was skeptical of this one as well because it came with a wireless sub, of course, that was only a 6.5-inch sub. And it's actually under the couch right now. It's a low profile, about 23, 24 inch long subwoofer that you can tuck under your couch, or it comes with brackets to mount it vertically alongside your couch if it doesn't fit under your couch. For my purposes, it fit perfectly under my couch. And I have to tell you guys, I am blown away with the bass quality coming out of this subwoofer. They have this thing tuned perfectly. I was extremely skeptical that this thing was going to produce any kind of output that I was going to be happy with. And I have to tell you, I'm just as impressed with this subwoofer at 6.5 inches, the ability to tuck it under your couch, and this system comes with wireless or attached wired rear surround speakers. Now they're not very big, they're about the size of a soundbar, about maybe 4 inches in height, but they do the job just to give you a little bit of that backfill. And the separation on this system is absolutely fantastic. I cannot tell you how happy I am with this soundbar. This soundbar replaced the 5.1 system that I thought I was going to have to ultimately find a way to get wires over this wall or I was never going to be happy. And I'm so glad I gave this system a try. Everything that came with the system was perfect. The remote, one thing I love about the remote, and I'll go ahead and show you that, discussing the remote. I'll get a little closer. It actually takes your standard AAA battery. A lot of the other remotes take your little button battery, and that sucks when you have to replace it because those are like $5 or $6 for one of those, and they're always hard. You always have to go somewhere to find the damn things. AAA battery, super cheap, fantastic. You never have to worry about the little door breaking like some of these other ones where you have that little slide that always seems to break a lot of your little credit card remotes. This remote is extremely basic. You have your power button, you have your menu button, your pause, your advanced track advance, of course, volume up and down, and you have a LED display right here. You can adjust your rear surround speakers separately. You can adjust your center channel, your left and right. You have all the adjustment you would have out of a 5.1 system with this speaker system. The soundbar itself actually has 3 speakers, your center, your left and right, It's 45 inches in length, which gives you some pretty decent separation for most TVs. And now, if they would have made a 60 or 70 inch version, I would have went with that, but they don't. It's probably just, not really feasible. Probably most people don't go with 70-inch TVs. But guys, you get great separation. The Dolby digital processing on this thing is absolutely fantastic. And this particular thing is Wi-Fi enabled. Now, I will say it was a little bit tricky to get this thing to hook up to the to do the update as far as your firmware update that you'll have to do once you get the system. Everything is done through the Vizio SmartCast app, but this thing allows you to basically cast to it just like you would any kind of Chromecast. If you're not familiar with that, basically allows you to cast from your phone to the device. So this thing I can actually play music through right off my phone using either Bluetooth or the SmartCast app, which is great. So if I want to listen to, let's say some YouTube music, I can play it right to this system. And now I have the other system here, so it's not really a feature that I'm really going to use all that much, but it might be something somebody might use, okay? I love the fact that you have a night mode on this. You can select night mode where it'll turn down some of that bass. Again, you can select bass and treble adjustments on this, and you can also select subwoofer control. So it has every bit of adjustment that you would get out of a 5.1, for the most part, Dolby digital receiver. Within reason, of course, guys. It doesn't have the tuning capability with your sweet spot and all that stuff, but for you to just adjust this yourself, no other soundbar that I found in this price range had all that adjustment, and it really makes all the difference. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pick you up here, and I'm going to go ahead and show you basically what the soundbar looks like. Now, these are unorthodox. These are not professional videos, guys, so bear with me. This is how I make my videos. So I'm going to go ahead and show you. You have a status light there off to the side here. I'm going to have to get in the frame with you, or off to the side there. Basically, right over here, you have all your status lights. The blue shows you're connected to Wi-Fi. The white will, these two will change colors based on if it detects a Dolby digital signal. This soundbar also has HDMI in and out, of course, and ARC. So you can hook that up to your TV and have audio return channel coming out of this. I don't use it that way. I don't want the soundbar to come on, automatically when you turn the TV on. My girlfriend doesn't always like to use the soundbar. I use the soundbar more than she does. She just likes to turn on the TV and just watch her shows without really having a fuss with anything. So the way I have it set up right now, you can turn the TV on, you have your TV speakers working, and then if you want to turn the soundbar on, you can, and you can operate those independently. If you want to use it and that brings me to the next point. The remote actually, because it's a Vizio TV, it has a setting where you can actually separate those two. So before I had it set up where when you turned on the TV, it knew that, of course, you were using a Vizio TV remote and would turn on the soundbar. It would accept the TV controls to operate the soundbar. So when you're turning the volume up and down, it would turn the soundbar volume up and down using the TV remote. Now that's good if you want to turn off your speakers on the TV, but when you start to have two speakers overlapping, you get a little bit of a delay. And you can adjust that, but I prefer not to do that. I just want to have them separate. And so I use optical cable out of the TV into the soundbar, okay? And then, of course, you can run them independently, so you don't have to have the soundbar on. If you, like, sometimes I'm going to bed, my girlfriend wants to stay up a little bit later, or vice versa, you can just have the TV on, okay? So that's what the soundbar looks like. It's pretty discreet, 45 inches long. It doesn't protrude out from the wall very much at all. It's very, very basic. Again, you have your status lights right on the side. When it detects a Dolby digital signal, the blue one, that's your Wi-Fi light, will flash to white and then go back to blue. Your volume control will be right here. I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like. Very, very basic, very, very clean. You can see, hopefully you can see. Oop, I'm a little too close. Sorry here, guys. There we go. I was away from the sensors. You can see the volume going up, volume going down, of course. And that's basically your status lights. And you have to kind of get used to the status lights because naturally, you have to read the manual and it'll tell you exactly what each one of those means. It also, though, when you change to like bass setting or treble, it'll change that to volume and actually be your bass and treble settings, just like for your rear. So when you switch into the rear mode with the remote, it'll show you right where the rear is set at, right where the center is set at, and you can adjust it. And you can know if you have, hey, am I at half or am I at full blast on those things. What else? If you come on over to the rear surrounds here, what I was able to do, I did pull up the carpet a little bit down here, and I was able to run the line from the subwoofer, which is neatly tucked under the couch right here. And I'm not going to pull that on out, but you You can see it under there. It fits perfectly under the couch. I have the port firing towards the corner of the wall, which gives you a little bit more bass output. Then, of course, I have the rear surrounds right over here. And this is just my setup, tucked behind the curtain here. Okay, so basically the sound comes right through that sheer curtain there. You don't even see the rear surrounds. I have the other one here on the wall hidden behind the tree. And it just gives you a little bit of that rear fill that you would be missing had you not had that. And guys, I got to tell you once again, this soundbar is fantastic. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and put it on because it would be kind of ridiculous for you, for me to or try to let you judge how this sounds through a YouTube video. It's impossible to do that. I always laugh at people when they look at my elaborate stereo systems in my cars and they tell me that, oh, that sucks because you're getting it. I don't know where people's brains are at, but you can't judge a system by how it sounds through a YouTube video. What I am telling you is the facts here, that this is one of the best sound bars I've ever heard for this price point, and I got this thing for right about $400, okay? Now, I was going to get a different soundbar too by Nakamichi. It's called the Shockwave. It's a 7.2 system. It has speakers on the sides that fire out and bounce around the walls, and they're coming out with a 9.2 system that's got twin subwoofers, 4 rear surrounds. But for my purposes, I didn't really want to spend, even $400 to me was a lot to rationalize for a soundbar, but I can tell you that after getting this is really worth every penny. It really is the best answer that I found to actually having a 5.1 system. And guys, you know, for my purposes, I mean, my girlfriend's very understanding. If I wanted to go through the whole thing here and have the big speakers, she's amazing. She wouldn't have a problem with it. But, you know, for me, I personally don't like to see that anymore. I don't really like to see the big giant speakers. And I like things to look very, very clean and discreet. And I don't want to walk into a room and just have to be like, okay, this is your home theater room. Now, again, I know it's a big giant TV, but the soundbar, the speakers, they're all pretty much hidden, and the sound that comes out of this thing is really fantastic. I will tell you a little bit directly off the Vizio website. This thing, and I can assure you that it is correct, they say this thing gets as high as 104 decibels with less than 1% total harmonic distortion. I've had this thing cranked max, and the distortion is very, very minimal. Definitely gets louder than you'll really need it. Most of the time we're turning it down. Bass tuned all the way down to 30 hertz. I can assure you, 30 hertz, 32 hertz is what I tune my subwoofer car boxes. I port them and tune them to that particular frequency. Guys, it's what I love to hear out of any audio system is a tuned ported system down to about 30 hertz. And I'll tell you that I can assure you that this is tuned correctly. This is not like your little tiny port they just put in some box somewhere and just get a little more output out of it. This is actually properly tuned, okay? Again, you have your SmartCast app I mentioned. Your SmartCast, you know, like I said, you can cast to the soundbar from your app. Dolby DTS decoding and Dolby Digital. And really that's about it. Other than that, everything else is pretty straightforward. Yeah, and right now they're showing they're out of stock on this thing. So this is, I don't know how popular the system is, but I tell you, it deserves a lot of respect. Props to Vizio for coming out with a system that sounds this good. Guys, if you are an audiophile or you're maybe not an audiophile, but you're used to having that 5.1 Dolby Digital system and you're looking for something to replace that, check out this system. I can assure you, you will not be disappointed. Alright guys, well that's my review of the Vizio SB4551, an amazing soundbar, one of the best that I've heard. And again guys, if you go into like a store and you listen to these things, they're all going to sound good, but the problem lies when you actually take them home and put on a movie. And if you're not used to hearing, if you're just looking to make the sound of the TV better and have more depth, then yeah, you'll probably be happy with a lot of soundbars. But if you're used to having that left and right separation, that rear surround, those deep rumbling lows, then you're not going to be happy with a lot of soundbars that I've listened to out there. And that includes ones from Clips, from Polk Audio, Nakamichi. You really got to get that separation. And you really need that rear fill. I mean, without that, even if it's minimal, you just need to have that rear to really feel like you're being immersed in audio. And like I said, I cannot tell you how happy I am with this particular system from Vizio. Also, remember guys, I'm not endorsed or anything like that. I'm telling you the God honest truth here. Like I said, I tested several sound bars, and after getting this one, I had settled on like I said, not going for the 5.1 receiver, drilling up the walls, putting in the in-wall speakers or your on-wall speakers, and spending a whole bunch of money. This system really satisfies my desire for the 5.1 Dolby Digital Audio, and it really satisfies my ear. It sounds fantastic. Give it a try, guys. Tell me what you think. I'll put a link in the description for more information. You can also pick this up through eBay, where you can save on that shipping, or I'm sorry, you can save on that sales tax and get it for some of the best deals you possibly can. All right, guys. Well, if you like the channel, subscribe. Remember, thank you very much for watching. As always, have a great day.